Live from Providence, this is ABC 6 News at 11.
Good evening and thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm John DeLuca.
And I'm Alexandra Cowley. The results are in tonight for Your Voice, Your Vote primary elections 2014.
We began with the race for Rhode Island governor for the Democrats. Gina Raimondo wins easily, 42% of the vote. Angel Taveras following behind with 29%. Clay Pell 27%. And
Raimondo will now face Republican Alan Fung in the November general election. Fung claimed 55% of Rhode Island's votes to his challenger Ken Block's 45%. And we've been following the candidates all night, getting reaction to these results.
And Gina Raimondo, of course, the big winner for the Democrats is their nominee for governor. Mark Curtis is live in Pawtucket with more on her victory tonight. Mark.
All right, it's a little hard to hear you guys, Allie and John, but the raucous party atmosphere continues here at Gina Raimondo's campaign headquarters tonight. The cheering really nonstop as early on it was apparent that she was going to go on to victory in this race, leading early. The state's general treasurer made a triumphant entrance into the Met Cafe here in Pawtucket to thunderous applause. Raimondo easily beat back the challenge of Providence Mayor Angel Taveras and newcomer Clay Pell. Raimondo winning 42% of all Democratic primary voters. Now, she believes her economic plan to put people back to work in the state with the third highest unemployment rate in the nation was the key.
Support of everyone who voted for me, and I look forward to earning the support of Rhode Islanders across this state in the weeks to come. Tonight, Rhode Island showed it's ready to get back to work.
Now, Raimondo knows, despite all the cheering and fanfare here this evening, that she is in the political fight of her life against Republican Alan Fung in the November election. Many public employee unions may oppose her, and that's certainly odd for a Democratic nominee, but that's because of her unpopularity amongst those public employees unions over the state pension reform plan that she spearheaded. Again, Gina Raimondo, the Democratic nominee for governor of Rhode Island in the November election. Very exciting night here in Pawtucket. Live from the Raimondo campaign headquarters in Pawtucket, Mark Curtis, ABC 6 News.
Mark, it seemed to me when Ms. Raimondo was making her celebration speech, she didn't waste any time getting started for November. What did you take away from that message tonight?
Well, she is certainly trying to get the Democrats unified, John. She praised both Mayor Taveras and Clay Pell for their service to this state, and she reached out to both of them. She knows she has to get their backers in the tent to win this election. She did mention unions. She talked about the trade unions, the public trade unions, the carpenters and the steam fitters, and the support she had from them, but she made no mention of the public employees, the firefighters, police officers, and teachers, many of whom oppose her, and many of those unions are leaning towards supporting Alan Fung, so we could have a very interesting race come November in terms of the dynamics, the people backing these individual candidates.
All right, Mark, thank you. Mark Curtis reporting live tonight from Raimondo headquarters in Pawtucket. Now, she beat both of her opponents by more than 16,000 votes.
Angel Taveras and Claiborne Pell both gave concession speeches earlier this evening.
I may not be the nominee, but I want all Rhode Islanders to know that our state is worth fighting for. Thank you for giving me the tremendous honor of sharing my vision for Rhode Island and allowing me to spend time with you and your families.
The primary campaign is behind us. The people have voted, and it is time for all of us across the state and in this room to move forward. I will be proud to support General Treasurer Gina Raimondo, and I hope that you will join me in offering her a helping hand.
After a bitter battle in the primary with Ken Block, an overjoyed Alan Fung came out on top tonight with 55% of the vote.
ABC 6 News reporter Mike LaCrosse has been with the Cranston mayor all night. He joins us now live from Warwick and has Fung's victory party from there. Mike.
John Allen, good evening. The party continues here inside the ballroom at the Crown Plaza Hotel. You can take a look behind me. You can still see many supporters. They're actually quieted down for us as we come on the air tonight, but I promise you they're still very excited here tonight. Now, if we go ahead and take a look at the video we shot earlier on today when Mayor Alan Fung came into the ballroom here to a thunderous applause that lasted throughout his roughly 20-minute speech here. Now, he did come out to a song by the TV show, the theme to Game of Thrones. Now, if you're unfamiliar with that TV show, it's about taking power, so that could be foreshadowing what he expects to do in the next weeks to come as we head into the general election. Now, his speech focused heavily on his ability to create jobs and bring businesses to Cranston as mayor. He's hoping that translates onto a larger scale when he hopefully gets into the governor's office. He also thanked his many supporters and said the work must continue. Take a listen to what he had to say.
Very excited, very happy, very, happy right now to see so many supporters. It's overwhelming. I'm very humbled and proud to have so much support throughout Rhode Island. Keep campaigning, keep going strong. Tonight we're going to celebrate with all my family, friends, and supporters. But tomorrow we're going to hit the campaign trail hard and continue, because we all know that Rhode Islanders are still hurting, and we need to make sure that we take care of them once we get into office.
And he said he did speak to Ken Block, and he looks forward to working with him in the next weeks to come as they head to that general election in November. And you can hear the crowd behind me, and I promise they are excited. They got a little bit lively now here as we are on the air. Now, you heard the mayor say that the work continues up until November for the big prize at the end. We're live in Warwick tonight. I'm Michael Cross, ABC 6 News.
All right, Mike, thanks. Before Fung gave his victory speech, Ken Block gave his concession speech. Here's a listen.
We ran the best race that we could run. We came up a little bit short. It happens. There has to be a winner. There has to be a loser. I think Rhode Island desperately needs the ideas that we were bringing forward. I wish the result had been different, but it is what it is, and I'm happy and ready to move on and head back and do what I do.
We're joined now by Dr. Tony Affinia, Professor of Political Science at Providence College. Professor, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Oh, thank you for having me. What an exciting night to be here in the studio.
It really was. And for Gina Raimondo, what did you take away from her campaign? Because all the poll numbers had her within 4 or 5 points. Everybody was kind of a tightly bunched race, but it didn't really play out that way. What did she do right?
I wasn't surprised. Gina Raimondo's campaign was very tight from the beginning. They stayed on message. There was some negativity towards the end, but not very much. The polls were pretty accurate.
What about the Providence mayoral race? Let's talk about that for a second. Were you surprised with Elorza and Solomon?
Somewhat surprised. I think Solomon was hurt by the ethical questions towards the end of the campaign. Elorza benefited from Smiley's endorsement and the whole flurry of endorsements he got towards the end of the primary season.
Yeah, we want to get back to the Providence race in just a moment, but I want to ask you about the Republicans. Can they circle the wagons in time, Ken Block and Alan Fung, and will anybody believe them as they go to take on Gina Raimondo in November?
I don't know. That was a very bitter campaign, and the Republicans spent most of the campaign pushing each other farther to the right. Now Fung will have to move back to the center. He'll have to develop the detailed proposals that Raimondo, Taveras, and Pell between them, the long list of policy proposals that came out of the 3 Democrats, there was nothing like that from the Republicans. They spent so much of their time fighting each other.
Will the public employee unions really support a Republican, though?
Oh yeah, Mayor Fung has had pretty good relations with the unions in Cranston. I think the police and firefighters around the state might go towards Fung, but Raimondo can count on support from the building trades, from the industrial unions, service workers. I think the unions are up for grabs. The real key piece in the fall, in November, will be the Latino vote, and one of the reasons Raimondo was able to win almost every single city and town. She won 36 cities and towns, including Providence. She beat Taveras in Providence. The only town Taveras won was Central Falls. That was on the strength of her outreach to the Latino community. Okay. That will be key in November. If you can hold it there, Professor, we'll come back to you. We want to talk more about the race for mayor of Providence. Former Housing Court Judge, as Ellie mentioned, Jorge Elorza will be the Democratic candidate on the ballot in November, beating out City Council President Michael Solomon and perennial candidate Chris Young. Elorza just finished his victory speech a short time ago. ABC 6 reporter Samantha Lavian was there and joins us live from Providence with more on that. Sam.
It was a close race tonight, Allie and John, but as you said, Jorge Elorza was able to come out on top Now, he started his speech off tonight by, saying that he was able to accomplish what nobody thought he would be able to. Now this race turns to whether or not he'll be able to beat independent candidate Buddy Cianci. There were plenty of cheers as Elorza did declare his victory tonight. He did beat out Michael Solomon in a race filled with controversy. Elorza is from Providence and has said throughout the campaign that he can draw support from all parts of the city. Former candidate Brett Smiley dropped out of the race to throw his support behind Elorza in the hopes of beating out Cianci in November. In fact, Smiley gave the introduction at tonight's victory speech, saying that Providence needs to move beyond corruption. Elorza told supporters he is ready to take on Cianci.
No one thought this was possible. No one gave us a chance, but you were with me from the very, very beginning. I thank you, I love you, and I'm going to work the next 2 months and 8 years of my life for every single one of you.
Elorza did acknowledge his leading rival in the race, Solomon, thanking him for his service. Now, as I said, Elorza will take on independent candidate Buddy Cianci. He'll also take on Republican candidate Dan Harrop. From Providence tonight, I'm Samantha Lavian, ABC 6 News.
Thank you, Sam. As Sam just mentioned, Jorge Elorza and Republican Daniel Harrop will now be facing off against the man who has run the city of Providence before.
Independent candidate Buddy Cianci has been laying low, waiting to see which Democrat he'd face. Here's what he has to say about winner Jorge Elorza.
I never really thought about who was going to run. I really didn't, because it could have been anybody. It was up and down and all around. So I'm pleased with the fact that now I can really let the clutch out and start campaigning, which I couldn't do before because we campaigned, but not like I'm going to campaign now because I didn't know who I was going to run against before.
And Cianci is not wasting any time getting started for November. His ads begin airing tomorrow on ABC 6. Take a listen.
A lot can change in a city after 12 years without leadership. When I left office, there was a $7 million surplus in Providence. People were working and buildings were full. The streets were virtually free of potholes. And there were enough police to keep things safe. We already know what Providence can and should look like. We can do this. We can give Providence the future it deserves, together.
Paid for by Friends of Cianci.
All right, there it is. We're joined again on the set by Professor Afenia from Providence College. Professor A, what do you make out of that ad, and what does Jorge Elorza and Daniel Harrop have to do to win?
I think the ad is a decent first shot, but there's a lot of campaigning left before we get to November 4th. Elorza, I think, is actually in the driver's seat. Unlike a lot of pundits, I've looked at the numbers, and I think Cianci has an uphill battle. The city that Cianci presided over no longer exists. His voters, very few of the voters who were here in Providence the last time he was mayor here, they've been replaced with young people, professionals, artists, and with Latinos. And the fact that Elorza comes in with such a head of steam from the Latino community, I think means that Cianci has his work cut out for him. Cianci was able to win last time because a very strong Republican was in the race, Fred Lippitt, less strong Democrat, Andrew Arnaldo, and the fact was Lippitt took a lot of votes off the east side. Cianci didn't get them, but neither did Arnaldo. Elorza has a very strong base on the east side, a very strong base on the south side. Federal Hill is a predominantly Latino community now. The North End is predominantly Latino and other immigrant community. Where are Cianci's voters? So I'm one of the people who thinks that Cianci may win. I would never count him out, but I think it's an uphill battle for the former mayor. He also comes into this race with a national or even international reputation as a convicted ex-felon, former federal prison
inmate. But if he
inmate.
starts talking about potholes and police and keeping you safe and making your schools better, at the end of the day, does the average Joe and Mary Blue Jean, what do they care about? What happened in the past or what's going on right now when they drive their car down a road and the car is bumping up and down?
Right. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting race. As I said, I wouldn't count Cianci out, but I think he's facing some real headwinds.
Professor Afenia, thank you so much for joining us tonight from Providence College. Really appreciate your input.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. And let's get to some other races from tonight. Cumberland Mayor Dan McKee came out on top amongst the Democrats vying for Lieutenant Governor, beating out current Secretary of State Ralph Mollis and State Representative Frank Ferry. On the GOP side for Lieutenant Governor, Catherine Taylor beat out Kara Young 67% to 33%.
And Nellie Gorbea will be the Democratic candidate for Secretary of State. She beat Guillaume de Ramel 52% to 48%. The race for General Treasurer, newcomer Seth Magaziner put the screws really to longtime Rhode Island Politico Frank Caprio. Magaziner scoring 67%, Frank Caprio 33%. Magaziner will now face independent Ernie Almonte in November.
And in the congressional race for District 1, incumbent Democrat David Cicilline beat out newcomer Matthew Fecteau, Cicilline taking 63% of the votes to Fecteau's 37%. In the Republican race for Congressional District 1, 27-year-old Cormac Lynch overcame Brown student Stan Tran with 72% of the vote to Tran's 28%.
And incumbent Warwick Mayor Scott Abedisian easily won his primary over Republican challenger Stacia Petrie, Abedisian taking 65% of the vote. William Murray is the new mayor of Cumberland, overcoming his Democratic opponents Daniel Alves and Manuel DaCosta, 49% of the vote, DaCosta 38%. There is no Republican candidate running in the general election. Still to come tonight, coverage of the primary numbers from Massachusetts,
including a look at which Democrat and Republican will be facing off in the race for governor. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to our primary coverage tonight here on ABC 6 News. I'm John DeLuca.
And I'm Alexandra Cowley. Massachusetts Attorney General Martha Coakley has won the Democratic primary for governor in the Bay State with 42% of the vote. Coakley defeated State Treasurer and former Democratic Party Chairman Stephen Grossman, who got 37%. Former federal health care administrator Don Berwick got 21% of the vote. And Martha Coakley will now face off against Republican Charlie Baker in the general election. He's getting another shot at winning the Massachusetts governor's office in November with 74% of the vote in tonight's primary. Baker lost to now Governor Deval Patrick 4 years ago. The former Harvard Pilgrim healthcare exec's victory tonight over Tea Party affiliate Mark Fisher was expected. Fisher got 26% of the vote.
And with 51% of the vote, Stephen Kerrigan wins the Democratic primary for lieutenant governor in Massachusetts. Kerrigan will now face Republican Karen Polito in the general election. Maura Healey beat out Warren Tolman for the Democratic primary for Massachusetts AG. Healey with 62% of the vote. He will now go up against Republican John Miller for Attorney General. And Deborah Goldberg is the winner of the Democratic primary for Massachusetts Treasurer with 43% of the vote. Her opponent, Barry Feingold, got 31% of the vote. Tom Conroy, 26%. Goldberg will now face off against Republican Michael Heffernan in the general election.
And now, Southern New England's most accurate forecast, certified by Weather Rate.
Well, the weather cooperated for voters tonight, which is always a good thing. This is what it looked like out of Skycam from atop the Sovereign Bank building, looking over Narragansett Bay just before the sun went down. You see a lot of clouds out there. Yes, we had a mostly cloudy day. Expect more of the same tomorrow. 62 is the current temperature in Providence. The dew point is 58. It's kind of cool out there. Northeast breezes about 10 miles an hour. The almanac shows it. It was the second coolest day of the summer. 73 degrees for a high temperature with a morning low of 58. Yes, comfortably cool for early September. Current temperatures are in the 50s across much of interior southern New England. They're in the 60s for most of Rhode Island and southeastern Massachusetts. We have 62 degrees at 11 o'clock at night here in the capital city. Now take a look at satellite and radar for the past 6 hours, and we see these rain showers getting pretty close to the southern New England coastline, but we still have high pressure to our northeast, which is bringing in some dry air and will most likely keep these showers maybe clipping the islands over the next 12 hours or so, but most of southern New England should stay dry tonight and tomorrow. Now, as far as the forecast for tonight, 59 the overnight low, a little bit cool out there, a little bit of fog developing later on tonight as well, with northeast breezes up to 10 miles an hour. The forecast for tomorrow calls for more clouds than sun, a little bit hazy in the morning and in the afternoon, with some filtered sunshine, fog in the morning, and a high temperature of 75. Those northeast breezes will stay with us for at least one more day. As we head toward Thursday, though, those winds will come out of the south and increase the humidity. High temperatures tomorrow. Check out these numbers. 70s, a little bit warmer than today, but not by much. It'll be another pleasantly cool afternoon for us. Then on Wednesday night, we start to increase the humidity as a warm front moves through the area. Kick off some patchy fog and drizzle late Wednesday night especially, and through the day on Thursday as that warm front comes through. We're going to warm those temperatures up to 78 degrees for a high, but it's going to feel warmer because of the humidity. Could see a little bit of drizzle at times on Thursday as well. Then a cold front comes through Thursday night into Friday morning, giving us a chance of rain showers there. Otherwise a little bit mild on Friday with a high of 74. And looking ahead to the weekend, it still looks to be very autumn-like. High temperatures near 70, with the rain most likely staying offshore on Saturday.
Kevin, the Paw Sox hope to be elected the Governor's Cup champions. Game 1 tonight. And the game marked the debut of Rusney Castillo of Cuba, playing his first game in AAA. Teammates would make it a night to remember. Meanwhile, another lost night for the Red Sox against the Orioles at Fenway. Dustin Pedroia could be done for the season. Details are next.
Now, ABC 6 Sports.
On election night, the Paw Sox looking to cast their vote for a Governor's Cup crown. The Paw Sox hosting defending champion Durham, Game 1 of the best-of-5 final. Edwin Escobar getting the start for the Paw Sox. He would go a solid 7, striking out 5 Bulls along the way. In the bottom of the first, Travis Shaw continues to swing a hot bat in the playoffs. Here the rip up the middle to make it 1-0. Then in the bottom of the second, Devin Marrero sends this payoff pitch into right field for the RBI single, 2-0 Paw Sox. Rusney Castillo making his AAA debut, and after striking out twice, he gets credit for a hit on this hot shot to third, finished 1 for 4. Short time later, the speedster thrown out trying to steal second base. With all the players coming and going, it's amazing the Paw Sox are in the Cup final. Garen Cicchini helps with a sacrifice fly here to put the Paw Sox ahead in the third. Paw Sox clinging to a 3-2 lead, bases full of the ninth. Heath Embry gets the job done. Paw Sox win 3-2. Game 2 tomorrow night at McCoy. It could be lights out for the Lasers show. Dustin Pedroia had an MRI showing inflammation in his sore left hand. Manager John Farrell said they might shut Pedroia down with just 17 games to play. Anthony Renato was trying to celebrate his birthday, but the Orioles would blow out the candles. Alejandro De Aza with the 2-run shot in the first. Then in the third, deja vu all over again. De Aza hammers another one the same direction, gone. Birds would build a 4-0 lead. Here's your only chance to cheer, Sox fans. Xander Bogaerts with the 10th homer of the season, but the Sox lose 4-1 to fall 22.5 games back at the Orioles. Rays visiting the Yankees, and Ben Zobrist with the RBI single, giving Tampa Bay a 4-0 lead. Rays would hold off the Yanks for a 4-3 win. The Big East hoop schedule is out. PC will play 7 games at 9 p.m., including 3 at the Dunk, Binghamton, Brown, and DePaul. The Friars also will host Creighton in a 7:30 game on New Year's Eve. PC beat the Blue Jays for the Big East title last March. The Friars play St. John's at Madison Square Garden January 31st. The whole schedule is on our website, abc6.com. The Bruins announced the black and gold scrimmage with the PBs will be played Sunday, September 21st, 5 o'clock at the Dunk. Meanwhile, some reports had the struggling Brad Marchand on the trading block, but he was at captain's practice today.
You know, I never thought for a second I was going to trade it, no matter what rumors are going around. I think, you know, bad start, I still had 25 goals, so I mean, it's not that bad of a year, but I want to be here. I don't want to go anywhere, and I'm not relying on a limited no trade clause to stick around. You know, I want to show my play and my actions that I want to be part of the team for a long time.
Marshy is a fan favorite. That's it in sports. We'll have more news right after this.
Now that we know Republican Alan Fung will be facing off against Democrat Gina Raimondo this November for governor, we want to let you know that ABC6 is televising the first live debate between the two candidates. That will be 1 week from this evening, September 16th, 7 o'clock. It's being hosted by Roger Williams University on their beautiful campus in Bristol, and it's sponsored by Cox Communications. Hope you can join us for that.
And we are out of time. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on this election night. Have a wonderful night.
Good night. Sleep well.